Everybody, it's Wednesday, May 6th at 9 a.m. Scott, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have Stephen Gilday with the Central Oregon Public Safety Chaplain for our morning prayer.
Well, good morning. It's been a year since I've been here. I hope you've all behaved yourself. Would you join me in prayer? Thank you, Lord, for your awesome nature of mercy and grace. Father, you have established and placed all those who are in authority, according to your word, for your will to be done, that we may have peace in our land. May the business before this court today and every day be heard and considered with all understanding for the benefit of the community. Give this court your wisdom, strengthen them in their work, and may the peace and joy of our Lord fill your hearts today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, we'll kick it off with public comment. Good morning.
Good, perfect. Can you hear me now? Julie Thompson, 5950 Northwest Green Valley Road. And I have some questions about an agenda item today, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to ask them during that agenda item or if I should ask now. So,
Which agenda item?
It is item number 10, the appointment of the hearings officer for this UP.
Okay.
Will there be discussion after that item, or do we have to do it during public comment?
It would be during public comment, prior and then after. John, is that correct? The CUP
for the hearings
for the hearings officer, that's not a public meeting. Public.
It's up to you guys to take public comment during it. It's not an ordinance.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I'm fine taking. Yeah, we just talk about it when it comes up.
Okay, I'll come back then. Thank you.
Perfect. Anybody else in the crowd? Anybody online? Okay. We'll kick off with the consent agenda. There's a lot of people here, so we get questions about this a lot. What consent agenda is items that we've talked about at the work session that we don't see as controversial, and it will help us to be able to get business done quicker. And so, but as always, if people have questions about specific things that are on the consent agenda that they would like to hear more information or dig deeper, just at the beginning, just kind of passed it, but the public comment period, just bring that up and we're happy to put it on more of a discussion. So I would, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
All right, Katie. Are you reading it? Oh, does that mean I get to read it?
Good morning, Commissioners. Katie Plum. I'm the Health and Human Services Director for Crook County. We know what to do to prevent diabetes, to promote lung health, to keep our hearts healthy. We avoid processed foods, we get exercise, we don't smoke or vape. It is just as important that we care for our brains and our nervous systems, and just as much as other chronic illnesses and the health of our bodies. And so I would like to recognize the mental health providers and the people in our community who do work to both support mental health in either a formal or informal capacity by creating space for people to process grief or have social connection, and a whole lot of other things that are services that are available here locally in Crook County to both support our mental health, to prevent mental illness, and then to provide treatment if it becomes to a point that we need professional care. Those resources are spread thin in communities all over the country, and we are very fortunate to have what we do have and to continue advocating for more resources as our community needs them. So there are a whole lot of people in the room and online who are behavioral health providers, whether they're from St. Charles and Mosaic, embedded in our primary care provider organizations, or Best Care, Rimrock, Prineville Counseling. There's a lot of private practice providers who maybe specialize in care for veterans, who offer equine therapy and work with horses. There are many, many options, whether it's virtual or in person, to support our community here in Crook County. And so I want to take a moment to honor them and the work that they do in our communities to support mental health. And I appreciate you all taking time to acknowledge May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And hopefully we can raise awareness throughout May of both the need to care for our mental health and the resources that we have available to us for that purpose. Our friends and partners at the National Alliance for Mental Illness, or NAMI Central Oregon, brought this in front of you all and brought this to our attention and encouraged this proclamation. So I want to take a minute to introduce Devin Nelson Harmon, who is our Crook County NAMI representative, and she has a few words before we read the proclamation.
Thank you, Katie, for the intro. My name is Devin Nelson Harmon. I work for NAMI Central Oregon. We're the Central Oregon chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I have been working in Crook County now for a little over a year, about a year and a couple months. And we have had a lot of support from the health department. We've had some great support from Rimrock and Best Care, and countless other community partners who have welcomed us and recognized the need for free mental health services in the community. So NAMI provides free education and support groups for individuals and families who are affected by mental illness. When you think about it, we're really all touched by mental illness in some way. 1 in 5 adults will experience mental illness during their lifetime. So if you know more than 5 adults, you are probably know someone who is struggling or has been. So in the past year, we have been able to start a peer support group for adults living with mental illness that meets on the first and third Sundays of each month at Our Savior's Lutheran Church. And that's been, I actually lead that support group. It's been really, really rewarding and yeah, just really beautiful to see different people come together and learn from each other and support each other. Recently, we partnered with Rimrock Trails to offer a free family support group on Fridays at 1 o'clock at the outpatient Rimrock building on Combs Flat. So that is new, but it is going strong and every Friday. Just wanted to say thank you guys for accepting this proclamation of May as Mental Health Awareness Month. I think it's really important for our community to see our leaders prioritizing these issues, and I think it opens the door for people to get help and speak up and reach out. So I just really appreciate your guys' support.
Thank you. All right, I will read the proclamation. This is a proclamation declaring May 2026 to be Mental Health Awareness Month, whereas nearly 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 adolescents in the United States live with mental illness, and whereas mental health impacts a person's emotional, social, environmental, financial, and overall well-being, with significant disparities among racial and ethical, diverse communities, and whereas suicide is now a second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds, with teenage experiencing a 17.3% increase to the use of anxiety medication since 2010. And now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that the Crook County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 2026 to be Mental Awareness Month in Crook County. Thank you. Thank you for all you guys do.
I want to make a comment to the public in general that I'm on Central Oregon Regional Health Council, and the state is reducing our funding for mental health here in Crook County by 17%. We're trying to shake out some way to not get that, but that's a very serious thing here that puts a lot of weight. And I want to actually call out the secondary, who you didn't call out, but law enforcement. A lot of time it is law enforcement and our jail personnel, be they city or be they county, that encounter mental illness mental illness and have to do the first step. So I do want to call them out as a partner to all of you. They're very, very important because a lot of times they're our first responders. But in accordance to this, I want to go ahead and make a motion to, I better get the right order, to do the proclamation for Mental Awareness Month. There is no order on here. Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye. And I want to thank you, Katie, and all your staff for all the good work that you do in mental health and everything else that you do. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Will, we got another proclamation.
Okay.
Are you going to read this one, or do you want me to read it too?
I'll let you read it.
Oh,
but
thank
I
you.
wouldn't mind
Yeah.
a few comments.
Yeah, I'll let you let that rip, and then I can just struggle through this one.
Thank you, commissioners. I just wanted to take a moment to kind of provide some background on this proclamation. So May 3rd through 9th is Public Service Recognition Week. This is part of a national observance. Public employees at all levels of government are responsible for many of the essential services that support safety, health, infrastructure, and overall quality of life in communities, including our community here. And with that in mind, I wanted to take another kind of minute to highlight some of the great public service that is provided by our departments here locally in Crook County. I'll start with the Sheriff's Office. Their deputies, corrections officers, and support staff are out working hard every day, 7 days a week to protect our community. Not only do they respond to emergencies, but as Commissioner Hermrick mentioned a moment ago, they also respond to difficult situations where people are having maybe the worst day of their life. Could be a mental health crisis, could be something else, but they are often at the front line of some of those more difficult situations, and they do a great job working with our community and protecting our community. A road department, we all see them out there every once in a while, not once in a while, especially during the summer, but we see them out there maintaining roads, but they also are out there before anybody else is out plowing roads, making sure our roads are safe so our kids can get to school and we can get to work when there's a snow event or other emergency. We also have, and we have a number of folks here from public health, but they work hard, kind of relentlessly on disease prevention, preparedness, outreach, and other health services. They also support our mental health efforts, as we just discussed. They do a great job supporting our vulnerable populations and overall community wellness. And a lot of their work kind of happens behind the scenes. It's not always out there in front of the general public on a daily basis, but they are out there daily doing what they can to make sure our community is healthy and safe. Similarly, our building department, we know them for building permits and all of that, but on, again, a daily basis, they're making sure the buildings that we live and work in are safe, not only for today, but for future owners in the community going forward. Jackie's here from the landfill. The landfill provides essential sanitation services for our community. Without it, we wouldn't have a safe local waste disposal facility that keeps our community clean and healthy. And then there's a number of behind the scenes departments, finance, HR, legal. All of them ensure that we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars, that we're making solid, sound decisions. And their work is just as critical in making sure county government is operating effectively and responsibly. There's a long list of county departments. There's the library that ensures we have education and cultural opportunities. Same with the museum. I could go on with the list. So much of what happens. Fairgrounds provides a critical service, very important part of our community. The list goes on, and it's hard to capture them all here. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of the hard work that our employees do, whether they're out on the roads providing emergency response services, or they're working behind the scenes for our community. The public servants we have here at the county and kind of throughout our community are critical to the delivery of essential services here in Crook County and Prineville. So just wanted to take that moment. There's a proclamation in the packet, and I'm happy to turn it over to you, staff, to read that.
All right.
I'd like to include our administration, Brianna and Will. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to just before you read it. So last year, Will and I went to County College, and what County College is for new commissioners and for managers to go, and you have all the counties of Oregon come together, and we had, I don't know how many, a couple weeks of day. We went in different sessions. You're learning about the different divisions. But what really impressed me is how good Crook County is and how well our system runs. Because when you get in there and you start listening to other counties and their complaints and their thing, our staff, just in my opinion, excels. And Will and I have talked about this before. And that is because each and every one of you and every job you do, I'm just very proud of you.
Yep. And not to be confused with Crook County College. And since, again, we have a big room here.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
This
is the whole state of county college.
We also have a program that's going to be in the fall that if you would like to learn more about county government, you can come. We have all the different departments come and give presentations. And so feel free to email Brianna if you'd like to sign up for that, because it's really exciting to be able to learn a lot more what we as county officials and county departments and public servants do on a daily basis. And I think you guys would be very surprised at all the things that the county does that you may not have any idea that we're out there doing and working. So, the proclamation, whereas public employees at the federal, state, county, and local level provide essential services that are vital to the safety, health, and well-being of our communities, and whereas Crook County employees demonstrate dedication, professionalism, and integrity in serving residents and supporting the effective operations of county government, and whereas public service requires a strong commitment to the common good and often involves demanding and complex work performed with diligence and care, and whereas the contributions of public servants are integral to maintaining infrastructure, delivering services, protecting public health and safety, and supporting the overall quality of life in Crook County, whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and honor the value and importance of public service and those individuals who dedicate their careers to serving others. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Crook County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes the week of May 3rd through May 9th as Public Service Recognition Week in Crook County, Oregon, and encourages all residents to join in expressing appreciation to public employees for their service, commitment, and contributions to the community.
So I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation declaring May 3rd through the 9th, 2026 to be Public Service Recognition Week.
And I will second.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Thank you, commissioners. And I'll thank the three of you also for stepping up and serving our community. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you hearing and reading the proclamation.
Now, don't take off. Brian's got a really good presentation at the end of the meeting. So, okay.
Well, thank you for showing up.
Okay. Hey, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
Good morning, commissioners. It's nice to see you all.
Yes.
I'm here today for two reasons. One is to ask respectfully if I can be reappointed to the Flat Rock Road District Board. It's time. And the second is we actually have some news. Since our inception in September of 2022, our goal has been to get legal, our first priority has been get legal access from Juniper Canyon Road up to the Flat Rock Road District. If you go past the fire station a few blocks, you turn on the unnamed BLM road, you go out there 2 miles, there are 3 640-acre sections. The population up there is growing slightly. And so it's becoming more and more important to get that legal access. And we've actually done that. I have received in the mail in the last week or two the public right-of-way. And it's not exactly what we were thinking it was going to be. This is actually a 30-year lease that's renewable. It's for an 80-foot wide easement that goes up from Juniper Canyon Road to the Flat Rock Road District. At first, we thought we were going to have to pay for it. And this is a grant. It is free for our road district. So we really do appreciate that. But it isn't a ticket to start road construction right away. We still have to go talk to the authorized officer. They want professional plan of development drawings and engineering. And so there are some steps that we still need to take before we can put in the culvert that's dinging up the fire trucks as they go out there to fight a fire, because there's a big dip right off of Juniper Canyon Road. Anyway, so we've made progress and we're excited to move forward. It's not going to happen right away. We still have steps to take, but it's a major step in the right direction.
Good. I'm glad they got off their hands and got to work on that. So I'm glad that worked out.
Is there any way, I know you're a great grant finder, is there any grants and stuff that can help you financially when you do get the okay? I mean, engineering is expensive, I know, so.
I'm expecting that portion of it to cost between $100,000 and $200,000. And so.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is. And we have been very frugal with our tax money, and we get about $5,000 a year. And what we pay is about $1,000 a year to the special districts organization for Oregon. And so what we have is $13,000, which is not nearly enough. So I do anticipate having to apply for grants to get that across the finish line. It'll probably take a year or two.
Well, I know if they're out there, you can find
I'm
it,
going to
Sarah.
find it.
You are very good at that, so I wish you success.
Thank you.
All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to do the reappointment of Sarah Beeler to the Flat Rock Road District.
That's order number 2026-19.
Oh, is it? See, I got to where I didn't think there was an order. Thank you, Brian. I will amend my motion to include order 2026-19.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Okay. Patrick.
Yeah. Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate your time. My name is Patrick Orr. I'm the Director of Conservation Programs from Heart of Oregon Corps. I was here at the end of 2025 to thank you for your support in the 2025 season and also give a brief overview of the outcomes from our Central Oregon Youth Conservation Corps program. I'm here again to ask that the commissioners consider sustaining that $5,000 support in the coming season. We're looking to start our 8-week program the last week of June. The program itself will continue on as normal with providing summer employment opportunities for youth between the ages of 16 and 18 here in Prineville, and working on our public lands in partnership with the Forest Service and also COIC. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the past support that the county has provided, and without pretty robust funding from both public, local public and private funds, these programs wouldn't be possible. So one, I thank you for your past support and would ask you to consider the 5,000 request for the 2026 season. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I don't have any questions. I think that you do good work. I think particularly what I like about it is that you employ youth. And I think that's important. I think it gives kids their, the opportunity to work, and you have a structure, and I think that builds community.
Yeah.
So I agree with, and personally I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, I recently was at the Thistle and what's that called?
Thistle and Nest.
Thistle and Nest, and they had a crew of your guys there, and one guy was about to graduate and get another job in construction.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they saw another guy down the row of houses that was actually a past employer or past person that's actually working. And anything time we can teach people skills and get them in the workforce. And it's also, I don't know how to say that, some of the people in your program maybe don't have the most best start in life. And so giving them the opportunity to learn those skills and be able to get out on their own, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I wholeheartedly support your program, because you're teaching kids not only work ethic, but you're teaching them the pride of coming back and seeing the results and what they've done. And that is a very important part. So I commend you.
Appreciate that.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
I have no order number here. I make a motion to support Heart of Oregon for the sum of $5,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yep.
I hope I get a clap. I'm done.
That's asking a lot.
I know.
Steve.
I've got it clapped out.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Waring. I am here today as the chair of the Crook County Foundation. And I'm going to tell you a story. I've been here a little over 3 years. I'm part of this program or this foundation for a little over 3 years. And the story I'm going to tell you was told to me. And I really hope they weren't just pranking me as the new guy in the community. But the way that the foundation started in 1998 was founding partners getting together at the sandwich factory. And those founding partners were the Crook County government, the city of Prineville, the Crook County Parks and Recreation District, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Crook County School District. And it was one of those meetings where napkins were drawn on and an idea was formed to form a foundation within this community. Since 1998, this foundation has provided opportunities in leadership for fiscal sponsorship programs, arts and culture through the Picnic in the Park program with the concerts that take place every year, and scholarships given out to our local high school students for college. But another part of this program has been the holiday partnership that takes place every year. And this partnership has been able to happen through the work of these different founding partners and many great volunteers in this community that have really put in a lot of time and effort to make this happen. So some of the impact from this holiday partnership program Last year, over 200 and around 250 households that were registered for gifts. 428 children received gifts that might not have received anything at all for Christmas. 188 seniors received gifts, and 35 people with disabilities were able to receive gifts for this program. 315 households registered for a meal voucher so that they could have a holiday meal for their celebration. And 286 households received vouchers for food, and 30 veteran households received food boxes from the VFW. So quite a big impact in this community from this program. I believe this program, the Holiday Partnership, has been around over 20 years. For quite a bit of that time, that was the county running this program through the health department. 2020 hit and everybody was affected by
I
COVID.
think that was Commission on Children and Families.
So I don't have all the information, just what I've been fed, but we get fact checked later on.
Yeah.
But,
Real time.
so through this program, 2020 COVID hit and the Crook County Foundation took it over. A vital part of this program is space. I mean, you have to have some space to be able to hand out the gifts and the food and those types of things. So today with me, we have some very dedicated, passionate volunteers. Carol Benkowski is here. Brenda Kamini is here, and Beth Jay is here. And these three have had a big role in making this program happen in the community. So we are here today to make an ask, make a request. There are 12 days for the Holiday Partnership. We completely understand the cost recovery model. I do. I mean, we do them in Parks and Rec. I know the school district does them. I understand the importance of them. You still have to pay the electricity bills and those types of things. But we do feel like the cost of $588 a day for 12 days, that's about $7,000. That's $7,000 that if you guys can find the vote today to waive those fees, that can go back towards more food, more gifts, more things that can be donated during that time in the community. So if you have any more specific questions about the program or some of the points that Seth brought up here, some of the volunteers here can answer questions, but that is our ask today. In the past, you have granted that, and we really appreciate that. Without you all commissioners, this program wouldn't happen the way that has happened. So there's a lot of thanks to you guys for what you do in this community. So we will open it up and take any questions that you have for us.
I have participated in Holiday Partnership, and it is a very, very good program. And I want to call out that the fairgrounds staff are behind the scenes people that help make this happen. We can grant things, but Casey and Jay and them are the ones that make things happen. So I want to call them out and thank them for doing this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing, and I think we need to continue to do it. I think it helps tons and tons of people in our community. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally 100% supportive of it.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll let Brian make this motion.
I make a motion to approve leasing of the Kerry Foster Hall without fee for $7,056 for the Holiday Partnership.
And I will second the motion.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor?
Rick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Thank you very much. All right, you guys can clap. Get a lot of those. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're really excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christina?
Good morning, Commissioners. Christina Herron, Finance Director for the county. This is Order and Resolution 2026-16, which is for reviewing and reauthorizing reserve funds pursuant to ORS 294-346. I don't know that this one's going to get claps afterwards, but it might.
Now it will for sure.
Always clap for you, Christina.
It's a little more boring than the rest of them.
Okay.
So I'm happy to read through it. There are some nuances to it that I want to make sure you're aware of in it. But if you have any questions before we get into that, I can answer those.
No, you did a very deep dive into this, and I want to commend you on that. I was surprised at all the items you had on here.
Yeah, so under ORS 294-346, we are required to review reserve funds that are specifically considered reserve funds, not less than every 10 years. And the commissioners do an order to abolish or reauthorize those reserve funds. The last order we could find for our reserve funds was in 2016. So we went down that rabbit hole of determining what had been authorized in 2016 and realized that there were quite a few reserve funds authorized under 2016 that had not been reauthorized since and were not considered reserve funds anymore. So this order goes through and reauthorizes the reserve funds such as the County Capital Asset Reserve, the Clerk's Notary Reserve, the Clerk's Recording Reserve, the Clerk's Archive Reserve, our Animal Seizure Reserve in the Sheriff's Office, the Crook County Friends of K-9 Reserve in the Sheriff's Office, the Sheriff's Fingerprinting Reserve, and then our Court Facility Security Reserve. And then it clarifies that other reserves that were authorized in 2016-2022 or 22 were abolished and the funds distributed on various dates. So those reserve funds were the Law Library Reserve. Those funds didn't disappear. It's just no longer held in a reserve fund. They live in the library and are specifically project coded for Law Library Reserve as we're required to use them for. It just was no longer considered a reserve when the funds were consolidated back in 2020. And then it was given a project code and they were distributed to the library from that in 2023. There was a computer purchase reserve, and that fund was closed and distributed in 2020. There was a demolition and repair reserve. That fund was also closed and distributed in 2019. The County Reserve Fund was a separate reserve fund that was closed and distributed between the Sheriff's Office, the library, and community development as of 2020. Fire Retardant Reserve was closed and distributed to the County Reserve in 2019. There was a Taylor Grazing Reserve Fund. This Taylor Grazing Act requires us to keep these funds specifically for Taylor grazing. That restricted funds still exist. It's just not considered a reserve fund anymore. So that one was distributed to a new fund number in 2020. They are still restricted, but they're no longer considered reserves. There was an ABHA capitation reserve. Those funds were spent to zero and closed in 2019. A health insurance reserve was established in 2007. That fund was closed and the funds were distributed to the general fund in 2020. The Bike Path Reserve Fund was closed and those funds were distributed to the Road Department in 2020. There was a Road Transportation Improvement Reserve Fund. That fund was also closed and the funds were distributed to the Road Department in 2020. There were 3 reserves for the COCC building and center here. Those were all consolidated in 2020 and then were distributed to the regular fund in 2023, but considered reserves within departments. And then this last year, we did an order to change that as well. So there's not a reserve for those. The funds just live in the COCC fund to be used for the maintenance on equipment and repairs and fixtures. There was a Household Hazardous Waste Reserve. That fund was closed and distributed to the Landfill Liner Reserve in 2018. There was a Landfill Equipment Reserve. That fund was closed and distributed to the Landfill Closure Fund and the Landfill Post-Closure Fund in 2019. Then that Landfill Liner Reserve Fund was later closed and distributed to the Landfill Closure Fund and Post-Closure Fund. And then our Weed Control Reserve was distributed to the beginning fund balance for the Weed Fund in 2020. Our Community Development Reserve was distributed to the Community Development Fund Planning Division in 2020. And the GIS Mapping Reserve was closed and distributed to the beginning fund balance of the General Fund in 2020. The Vehicle Reserve Fund was closed and distributed to the beginning fund balance of the General Fund in 2020. And those are, I know that's a lot of changes, but I wanted to make sure they were all on the record because a lot of it's moved back and forth over the last few years with changes in the account structure for the county. So happy to answer any questions. No, that's a lot of funds moving around.
Yes.
It's a lot of cleaning up.
Yep.
Good job.
Good job. Way to
Did
keep
a
on
very
it.
deep dive.
This is so we can have everything clean on record moving forward, and we'll continue to do reauthorizations of reserve funds that the county deems necessary moving forward, probably earlier than every 10 years. So we can stay on top
Good
of it.
idea.
Yeah.
Great.
That happens in 10 years.
See.
I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve order and resolution 2026-16 in the manner of reviewing and reauthorizing reserve pursuant to RS 294346.
And I will second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Herman Guy.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Erica? So how do we work this well? Or Eric, do we start a public hearing right off the bat, or do we want to let them kind of present a little bit? They presented last meeting.
So what I might suggest is first a brief staff report. Then I think open the public hearing and invite Republic to speak first, and then members of the public, both online and in the room. Based on what you hear today, then close the public hearing and decide if you've heard enough to make a decision.
Right. Will? You can hang out. These are next.
Okay.
Good morning again, commissioners. Before you today is a rate increase from Republic. Previously, we've had a work session to discuss this, and we also had a regular meeting in April where Republic presented information about their rate increase, including the financials that support what they are requesting. They are requesting a 6.5% rate increase. The current franchise agreement contemplates a target margin in the range of 8 to 12% based on the financial information provided by Republic previously and presented previously. They believe that 6.5% rate increase will get them into that target margin. And what we're here today for is the public hearing for the board to either make a decision on the rate increase or you can direct staff to gather more information if that would be helpful. As far as the details of their requests, I feel more comfortable if Republic spoke to that. Mr. Crawford, I know you've worked with the finance department on kind of going through that or looking for kind of some accuracy. I'm happy to cover that or wait.
I think we can work on it. Let's let them speak. Let's hear from the public and then we can.
Sounds good.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. For the record, my name is Erica Heitzma. I'm the general manager for Republic Services, servicing the Central Oregon area, which includes Crook County. I can go over again in detail our 2025 financial results if you think that would be something you would like to hear again. But it's completely up to you. I can go through a summary as well.
See, it is a summary, kind of a high level.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the crowd, and I think most of the people were here in the past two meetings when those discussions were had. So
Definitely. So I'll go through just a very high level explanation of our 2025 results and then a high level explanation of our 2026 ask and what that will yield. So from a 2025 perspective, looking at overall revenue was at $2.9 million. This was a year over year increase. So 24 to 25 of $336,000. This is as a result of prior price increases that were approved in 24 and 25, along with a volume growth of about 2.4% in those revenue streams. From a total cost of operations perspective, total cost of operations is $2.6 million in 2026. This represented a $213,000 year over year increase.
Specifics relating to those cost categories that make up our total operating costs include disposal fees, our direct labor that supports collection of the material, equipment operating costs, which is primarily fuel, our truck maintenance costs, which is costs directly related to maintaining our vehicles, insurance costs, which includes any costs associated with claims, other operating costs, which are primarily driven by lease expenses, depreciation, which is a depreciation of our assets, which is our truck and container equipment, call center costs, which is again costs associated with customers calling into our call center, our area and corporate allocations, which includes costs to support our local market in Central Oregon, and then our management and administrative costs, which is cost directly associated with our Central Oregon management team, and then finally our franchise fees. Our total franchise income for 2025 was $296,000, which yielded a contract margin of 11%. So looking at our 2025 rate ask, our overall rate ask is 6.5%. This includes general inflation of 3.5%. This is for CPIU West Coast BC. This is the index that's applied to most of our costs when we look at our pro forma for 2026. Wage increases for our employee group is 3%, and then we have a disposal fee increase of 5.8%. So like Will mentioned in the beginning, the 6.5% we anticipate will yield within the allowable margin of the contract. Again, between 8 and 11% is the allowable margin, and we're anticipating this will yield approximately 10%. Any questions?
Anybody from the public in the room that would like to speak?
Don't you have an open hearing first?
Oh, I guess before you started speaking, I opened a public hearing, so I will open it now. Anybody here in the room that wants to speak on the increase? Anybody online? Okay. So I've been working with Christina, just kind of looking at the numbers and looking at the way that you guys looked at going forward. And I think our biggest concern is that you didn't look at potential growth in Crook County. And so we've looked over the last 5 years, and there's been 11.4% growth in Crook County, one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And if you work that average of 2.28% growth into your equations, it would be, we believe it's closer to 3.25% that you need to put yourself at that 10%. And I'm happy to have Christina come up and kind of talk about how we came up with that, but it's pretty similar to what I just explained. So I really believe that if you were to take into account the potential growth of Crook County, that you would be well over that 12%, with the 3.25% plus a 2.28% increase, that puts you right at 10%. So that's personally where I feel comfortable coming in. I know it's tough for everybody out there, but I think we talked last meeting about trying to find efficiencies and different ways to tighten your guys' belts, just like the citizens of Crook County are doing the same. So happy to hear from the rest. Do we as the county speak at this point, or do we wait? Do we then close the public hearing?
Yeah.
And
What I might suggest is close the public hearing and then we agree. Great.
okay, public hearing closed. Will, do you want to kind of break down?
Yeah, so let me just kind of summarize what I understand from finance and what I think you were speaking to. So finance evaluated what level of rate increase would be necessary to achieve that the county's target margin range of 8 to 11 or 8 to 12%. Their analysis indicates that a rate increase in the range of 3.25 to 4.1% when combined with assumed population growth of 2.28%, which is, as you noted, Commissioner Crawford, just that's the average rate of growth we've seen here in Crook County over the last 5 years, based on census data. That would result in a projected margin of approximately 9.7% to 10.5%. And again, as you noted, Commissioner Crawford, it doesn't look like Republic's original projection took into account any revenue increases from population growth, and was based more just on rate adjustments. In what finance took into account was both rate adjustment and expected growth in customer base for Republic. So that's just kind of a quick kind of recap of what finance analyzed. And as you know, Christina is here in the room, and if there's any additional detail you think is relevant, I'm sure she'd be happy to speak to that.
Could you give us some potential motions we could make?
Can I have 1 minute to chat with Eric about something?
Are we doing a little recess or something?
Quick recess.
How about we make it an actual recess? Because I was going to take a break from the next thing. 5 minutes.
Use the restroom.
Is everybody back from the? Will brought to my attention that it's probably fair to let Republic respond to what we've kind of come up with internally. So
yeah, and I think that's fair to have a discussion regarding population growth or volume growth. From our perspective, the direct population growth doesn't necessarily translate to or directly translate to volume growth that we see on our end. And even when we do see volume growth, it's about sometimes 2%. Right now, what we're experiencing is actually a volume reduction in trash. So it's not always a direct correlation to revenue. Also, something I want to call out and make sure that it's noted is anytime that we do see volume growth or tonnage growth, there's cost associated with that. So you have disposal fees, you have direct labor, you have maintenance costs, you have fuel costs that also increase. So again, those revenue dollars don't all automatically or all of that drop to the bottom line. So that's something to keep in mind. So, we'll just say, 10% population growth doesn't mean we get 10% of additional revenue, and that's 10% that goes to the bottom line or improves your contract margin. You have to take into consideration tonnage means something very different, and that's volume growth for us. And then there's additional costs to consider when we do have volume growth. So the reason why we don't always put in volume growth is because first, it's really hard to predict what that's going to look like. And, the 2% or so volume growth that we do experience, that 2% compared to the price increase that we're looking is, 98% of the customer base or the book of business. So that, 6.5% that applies to your 98% of the book of business should also directly correlate to maybe that 2% volume growth that we would potentially experience in 2026. Like I said, what we're experiencing right now in Q1 of 2026 is not a volume growth. We're actually seeing our revenue streams reduce from a year-over-year perspective. So just wanted to make sure that, we talk about that, and happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Christina, do you want to weigh in on that? Yeah.
Yeah, because I did take into account variable costs. That's why when we're looking at that margin of the 9.7%, that allows for basically 1.7% of additional variable costs for that growth before you hit that 8% threshold. That's our margin. So it would put them down at that bottom of the margin, or the same with if you use the 4.1% rate increase plus the 2.28%, that would give them even more margin for variable costs and changes. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's super helpful. And I think, let's do the 3.25 and see how, see if you guys can find ways to tighten your belt. And if we get to the end of next year and it's totally out of whack, then we can have a conversation then. Is the way I personally feel about it.
Just a quick process comment. Since we afforded Republic an opportunity to respond to some of that new information, I would just encourage you to open it up to the general public.
Anybody in the public want to weigh in on Republic's response or our comments? Anybody in the room today? Anybody online? 2 pages, huh? It's a popular day.
A lot of people.
Okay, we will close the public hearing again. What do you guys think? I think that, with working with Christina, I feel comfortable that we're putting them within their margin. Potentially it could be kind of on the lower end of the margin. But again, I think the public is feeling a lower end of their margin. So.
Yeah, no, I concur.
And so do I. I agree. I agree. So, Will, we look to you for suggestions on how we move forward with the motion.
Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but a potential motion could be a motion to approve a rate increase for Republic services to be effective on July 1st, 2026 in the amount of 3.25%.
Yeah, I would agree with that. My recollection is that 3.25% is not quite the U.S. Consumer Price Index. I'm looking at our code. It looks like if there's a change other than the CPI, then it would be approved by an order. So I might suggest you make that motion, and then at a future board meeting, we bring back a written order, same effective date, July 1. But that way we'll have that documented and we'll be able to dot our I's and cross our T's.
Is that something because you guys are on somewhat of a timeline to get your information out? Would it be helpful if we did something like that? And I don't know if we can, but to do that order to be signed out of the meeting so that because you guys have a process that you need to know sooner than later what you're at so you can get to the public. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I'm correct, I believe in a franchise agreement, there's requirements for us to do a public communication prior to the rate increase going into effect. I believe it's 60 days. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Might be 30.
Might be 30 days. But 30 days. So at least we we need at least 30 days prior to July 1st. So that
I just want to make sure. So then we could we sign that order out of?
Yeah, good question. So I would suggest not, but I think based on the motion that you make, that Republic will be able to rely on the idea that there's going to be a 3.5. Okay. Is it 3.25?
3.25.
3.25% increase. And again, the order is to document that, and it would be effective July 1.
Okay.
Okay. So do we need to reiterate this motion? Can you do that for me, Bill? Including Eric's comments?
So what I might suggest is a motion to approve a solid waste franchise fee increase of 3.25% effective July 1, 2026. This doesn't have to be part of the order, part of the motion, but we'll bring an order at the next regular board meeting for approval that will just document that. And the effective date of that order will be May 6th.
But the order does not need to be part of the motion. It seems like it does to me. It seems like it should all be lumped together. So the fact that you said it shouldn't be, I'm kind of unsure about.
Yeah, I don't think you have to mention the order in the motion to approve the rate increase. The code section reads that rates will be changed by order of the county court, uses the old language for the Board of Commissioners. But it does sound like you've made your decision today. So if you want to say we will adopt an order on May 20th to memorialize that, you can. I don't know if it's strictly necessary.
Just go for it.
Okay. So moved, evidently.
Second.
Any discussion?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Oh, yeah, you didn't.
Barney,
ask for
aye.
it. Sorry, I was ahead of the game. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So, we're not required to have public input, but there's public here that wants to weigh in. So, we'll let John kind of lay out what he wants to talk about, and then we're happy for you guys to come up and chat with that. Same thing with online, but I don't see you guys nodding, so.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Eisler, Community Development Director. Before you is Order 2026-18. This is in the matter of appointing a hearings officer for planning record numbers 217-150000115 PLNG and 217-220000540 PLNG. At our Planning Commission hearing on March 11th of this year, Robin Hayakawa from Central Oregon Land Watch and several neighbors of the permittee came and requested of the Planning Commission initiate a modification or revocation proceeding for those conditional use permits. I recommended to the Planning Commission that I provide a staff report with my guidance, leaning on some concerns that I had regarding bias and procedure. I recommended that the Planning Commission appoint a hearings officer for this proceeding, and additionally to have an initial proceeding where the evidence was considered on whether it was warranted to initiate the modification and revocation proceeding. It's kind of a weird situation, but this is leaning on guidance from LUBA case law that had a very similar situation where the initial consideration itself was a land use decision. So we have several hearings officers under contract for code compliance cases, but this is a little bit different. And so the Planning Commission made their motion for it to be heard by the hearings officer. The issue is that we didn't have any hearings officers currently that were appointed with all the authority of the Planning Commission, which is necessary to modify or revoke a conditional use permit. And so this order here is a bit of housekeeping. The Board of Commissioners does have that authority under 18-172-010 sub 2. And so we're just following our county code and allowing you three as a Board of Commissioners to appoint a specific hearings officer to have all the powers of the Planning Commission. And that hearings officer will be, if this passes, Joshua Soper from Beery, Ilsner, and Hammond. He has a lot of experience with county land use. He was a county council for Coos County before he went in-house. He's been doing this for quite a while. So he's highly competent land use attorney. In this proceeding, the burden in this initial proceeding will be fairly low. The parties need to show that there's a reasonable suspicion the evidence meets the standard to move forward in this. All the parties, any interested parties, will have a chance to participate. The parties entitled to notice, as well as the parties that request the proceeding, will all get individual notice of this. They will all have 14 days to submit evidence and argument. Following that, the permittee will have 14 days to respond, and then there will be an open record period after that and a staff report before the final decision is made. In here, in the interest of efficiency, so at Central Oregon Land Watch, came in and tried to, they argued that this initial proceeding would be redundant and kind of a waste of resources. And so I have in here that it's basically based on the written evidence and argument unless a party requests an oral hearing, and then we'll have an oral hearing. So are there any questions before?
I just think it would be helpful to describe why this is important, that there is lots of intricacies in the state of Oregon and in the land use laws that are very, very difficult and have lots and lots of pitfalls. And if we do not go through the right process, we can end up in a situation where we may be trying to resolve an issue, but by doing it the wrong way, we may put ourselves in a worse position.
Certainly, yeah. So there are a lot of parties with a lot at stake in this, and so as the county goes through this process, I think it's critically important that we go through the process properly. Whenever there are due process questions, the solution in my mind is always add more process, and so we are just doing this as safely as we can, so all the parties have a fair chance. And so basically, as we go through this, the hope is that whatever decision the hearings officer ultimately comes to would be upheld by appeals to LUBA or the Court of Appeals, and then we wouldn't have to redo the process and drag things out even longer.
And I hear a lot of complaints that there's too many lowering and there's too many things like this. But unfortunately, we are in the Oregon system, which uses a very complicated system of terminology and different things. And if those things are screwed up, then the outcome that somebody may be looking for could be in jeopardy because of the process not going through the right process.
Certainly, we cannot skip any steps. Let me see if I can pull up. I quoted from the city of Portland was going through a process like on the FAQ page, and they said, skipping steps would make any revocation legally defective and easily overturned.
Okay. And so when we talked a little bit yesterday about this meeting, when we do have public comment, is there a certain parameters that we need to stick to, or could that, I think we talked a little bit about if we talk about certain things that could put this body and the general plan of what the process is in jeopardy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. If the hearings officer's decision is appealed, you guys have the option of considering that appeal or kicking it to LUBA. And if this matter will ultimately come back before you, I don't see any value in just risk if you guys are considering anything substantive today before you hear it ultimately.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I have no questions.
Public?
Julie Thompson, 5950 Green Valley Road. My questions are, I guess, pretty much about what the hearings officer does, I guess, and how the process works, as well as some questions about how the last planning meeting went with the decision that was made. So, this question that we're asking, the revocation of UP, has nothing to do with the water quality. This has to do with violations of this UP and the zoning issue with the ponds. And I don't think that that was the number one idea that was put in the planning commission's head on the planning commission meeting. It was about the water and that, you know, we don't have proof. The other thing is that the letter that was written that states from John that to the planning commissioners that says, you know, the reasons that they can revoke. I feel like what was presented was a one-sided, this is what you should do and why, but if you decide to do this, this would be how you would go about it. There was just one option presented to the planning.
So I think we're going into two questions, and I want to answer all your questions. So maybe let's clear up the first one first.
Okay.
And then we can, because if we just ask 5 questions and then let's stick with number one. So can you did you understand her first question?
I'm not sure if I did. So Julie, you're saying the staff report was about the water quality?
So that's number 2. Number 1 was what?
The procedure.
Procedure. Why this, and what does that process, how does that process work? Is that generally?
I think you kind of talked about this in the planning meeting, but we're going to have to present all the material again to this hearings officer and go through everything that we've been through numerous times. When it's, there's all the compliance reports that have been filed and all the, replies to them or reasons that they aren't or whatever. I feel like if I'm understanding the process correctly, it's kind of a waste of time and money for everybody. We already know everything that has happened. And I know that you're saying that we need to follow the process so that we don't mess up the process, basically, right? But I feel like,
Well, and I think it's more than that. I think it's a very complicated issue, and it's just hear me out here. And it's the other side is very litigious. I can't guarantee anything, right? And so when you have a situation like that that's complicated and you have a litigious person or entity on the other side, then you need to go through and protect yourself through going through the best process available. And what John's identified, I'm just putting words in his mouth here, but what I think John's identified is the right process to allow the most transparency, right? We all love transparency. And so the most transparency for all sides to be able to, when we get through the process, neither side can come back and say, well, this wasn't done correctly.
So, Julie, let me step in. So, I know your question is now. So, this is a basic foundation of land use law and due process for any type of constitutional rights. The things that you may have said at prior hearings, the other party was not there to respond. They didn't have an opportunity to respond. It's, ex parte contact. It's important that everything goes into the record in a single forum with a single decision maker, with both parties, with all the parties able to respond to the information that's presented. That's how you have to make a land use decision that will be upheld.
so I was at like a year and a half ago, something like that. If I'm not mistaken, the county hired Tommy Brooks for land use decisions, which we were led to believe had something to do with the Knife River case. However, we never learned anything from that either. So is this going to be a similar situation where the county is going to spend money to hire outside law advice, I guess, to call it what you call it, and we're going to get the same answers again that you can't do anything because it might hurt the county? Because I feel like the reason why we're going through all this again is to cover up the county's butt, not to put it frank, just because we have been told time and time again that you can't do anything. Hands are tied. And I'm not trying to attack anybody. This is what we've been hearing. So to go into another hearing where the county chooses the hearing officer who's supposed to be, well, from my understanding, a neutral third party. How is that a neutral third party?
So I think we can get into that, but I'd like to speak to a couple comments you made. I think we were very clear that we met with Tommy to look at options that you had brought up, and that he explained to us that those were not viable options. And so I think we were very clear with the outcome of that conversation with you. Yes, I was here, you were here, we had that conversation. You said, here are some questions. These are ideas we have of how we can fix this situation. We then looked at it internally. We didn't believe that they were possible avenues. We then went to an outside source to double check, to second look at it. And that's what we used Tommy for. And so, we had a conversation that we said, here are the questions. What do you think about this plan of attack? And we brainstormed some different things. He said that he did not believe that they would be fruitful. So that was that action. And then the fact that, I guess I'm not going to get into us not helping, but it's frustrating when we've bent over backwards time and time again, getting the federal government to put in $1 million, getting DEQ to step up to do these testings, where if we would not have been as persistent, all of us, but us included, with DEQ, I do not think they would be in our community and being part of finding a solution. So, but that we can disagree on that.
I can explain to Julie the difference so Tommy was the county's outside counsel attorney to give legal advice. This is an entirely different situation. This is a hearings officer that will hear the arguments from the parties and come to a decision.
But you have to understand this is on one issue. It's about the ponds on EFU because that's what it's about. It's not water quality because your water quality, your two state agencies, we have no evidence.
Right. I totally understand.
And that's what,
Let me just correct. So this can be about the ponds. This can be about anything under the sun that feels like it meets the subsections for modification or revocation.
So again, it goes back to the county says, I mean, which you have written letters, you've helped try, to get people involved in this. But what I mean by not doing anything is you give this conditional use permit with the laws and the codes in this permit that are being violated, but nothing happens. That's what I mean by not doing anything. So again, we're back to what good is this if nobody can enforce it? Why do we even have them if they don't have to follow the rules?
Can I sally forth? The idea of engaging a hearings officer is that this hearings officer is not going to take a side. The hearings officer is going to serve as a judge. The judge is going to weigh the evidence that is marshaled in favor and in opposition to the question presented to the hearings officer, just like a judge would. If it's not a hearings officer, it has to be someone else. Is that the Planning Commission? Is that the Board of Commissioners? You have an outcome you want. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. You have an outcome you want.
Yes.
If the process that leads to the outcome is deficient, if it is unfair, you will not get the outcome you want. No one will. The goal of having a hearings officer, as John has articulated, is to create a fair process, not to guarantee an outcome, but to have a fair process with someone who is disinterested and is able to weigh the evidence that has been marshaled by proponents and opponents, and nothing more.
Thank you. So next question, I guess, in the letter that was written to the Planning Commission on the second page, it talks about the relevant code provisions and the things that can be grounds for revoking the UP, right? And A is fraud, concealment, or misrepresentation, or on the basis of wrong information supplied on the application. So I have the original application. There is a lot of misinformation on that application, but that was never brought up.
Well, and that's what the hearing judge will look at.
So again, I'm just confused to why we have, I mean, I get what you're saying, the process. It just seems like a lot of process when it seems pretty clear of all the violations and the things that are done wrong. And if the county has these rules and laws, why can't they enforce them?
So I think
that's why we're going to the hearings office.
Yeah, and we are enforcing them, Julie. It's they have been fined, they have paid fines, they have multiple fines right now outstanding, and other ones that might be coming down the pike. You have a position, as Eric said. The operator has a different position.
Sure.
That's what this forum is for, that we've created, so you guys we can all sort it out and figure out what's what.
And I'm not saying you're wrong or right. So you have an opinion that there's fraud and things in there that they're not right. I guarantee you that they probably have some high-powered lawyer that says the exact opposite of what you say by looking at the exact same paper, right?
I don't know how you could see it any different, but
I'm just saying,
biased because
yeah.
I see if you wrote that you're not going to do something, that means you're not going to do it.
Yeah. But again, this will give you and the other entity as much representation and as much process. So then, I mean, if you feel so confident in what your belief is, you should be excited about this. And it's an opportunity to go in front of a non-biased person that understands the Oregon land use system and you can then articulate your side, they can articulate their side. And if it's as glowing or glaring issues as you say, then that person will see that, and they don't work for Knife River, they don't work for the county, they don't live in the area. They are somebody that has the understanding of the law, and then they will look at both those sides. And that's where I get confused, that this isn't a positive thing, that we've found an opportunity to, we're not talking about DGAMI or DEQ or state agencies that I know you have concerns are not pure as the driven snow, right? So we're taking it out of those conversations and we're putting it into a non-biased third party that will look at all of your concerns and look at their concerns or beliefs, and then give you an outcome of what they believe it looks like. And I just see that as a very positive outcome of a process.
It seems you should be embracing the objectivity that's going to come from this. And again, you will have your side, they will have their side. And again, exactly what Seth said, you have someone who is objective, who knows the laws, knows whatever, and is coming up with a decision. And that, to me, is very fair, in my opinion. And I think John has done a very good job in getting us to this point. And that is, so yes, I understand your frustration. I understand your anger. I understand all of that. But this is a very good outcome because you should, again, embrace that objectivity.
So the county has never used this attorney for anything else.
I don't know if he's a partner with this law firm. This law firm has had their hearings officers do our code compliance stuff. I would need to check with Lewis if he has served as but those are much different situations than this.
It's hard to embrace this as a positive avenue, like a positive thing, because we've been trying for years to solve this problem.
Yes.
And I feel like we were led down the wrong path for a long time of who to complain to, when to complain, and all of those things, when maybe 2 or 3 years ago, if somebody would have said to us, you need to go talk to the planning department instead of the commissioners, and then we could have been ahead of schedule. But I feel like that was left out of all conversation, when I think the process could have been different. You know, like basically we're barking up the wrong tree this whole time because the commissioners can't make the decision to have a hearings officer, but the planning commission can't. Is that right?
That's not right. Both the planning commission and the board of commissioners have the same authority on this stuff, but the board of commissioners is the only one that can appoint a hearings officer.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room? Of course.
It's the guy.
It wouldn't be a meeting without hearing from
It's
you.
the guy with the cowboy hat again. Here we go.
Adam Mikulski, 3992 Northwest Stancic, and I'm not going to make light of Mental Health Awareness Month, but this is perfect for what we're talking about right here. Is after you deal with this since 2015, you might develop mental health, problems with it, and I'm not making light of it because we go over this over and over and over again. But I agree with what you guys are saying after listening to John and legal. I think you're heading in the right direction because you got to be exact on everything. But I guess what my question would be is the process. How's the county involved in there? Because here we go back again. The public has to present all this evidence again. Knife River will present evidence. The county also has a lot of evidence that's been sent to them. Are they also going to be part of this process in the hearings?
I plan on it.
Okay. Will you wear a suit and tie?
That is asking a whole lot of me, Adam. They're getting cobwebs on them now.
All right. That's probably my comment and my question. And a 1 and a 2.
Whoa, don't steal Brian's thunder. Hold on.
That's a very, very good comment, though, Adam. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else here? Anybody online would like to weigh in? Okay. Are we ready to make
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve order 2026-18 in the matter of appointing a hearing officer for planning record number 217-15-000-115 planning and 217-22-000-540 planning.
I will second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
No applause? Let's wait till the end. We have then you can catch Brian's show. So because I don't want you to leave before that. What's that?
Certainly. You and
100%. If that's your question, then the answer
spread
is
some
yes.
chairs out for you. Certainly, yes.
All right. Another one from John.
Yep. Commissioners, again, John Eisler, Community Development Director. So this in front of you is ordinance number 358 and ordinance, I won't read the whole title. I need to apologize, Seth, I did not get you a script in advance. So it slipped my mind. So I have a script here. I can, County Councilor will, either I can read it right now on your behalf, or I can bring you my laptop and you can read it.
If that's legal.
What's that?
I'm super comfortable with that if that's legal.
You okay with that, Derek? Okay. All right. The Crook County Board of Commissioners convenes today, Wednesday, May 6th, at 10:28 a.m. to conduct a public hearing on record number 217-2500400-PLNG regarding a comprehensive plan amendment to add 4.1 acres to Crook County's inventory of significant mineral and aggregate sites. The subject property is described as a portion of Township 14 South, Range 14 East, Willamette Meridian, Tax Lot 1801. Procedural statement. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will be considering a recommendation from the Planning Commission to add the subject property to the county's aggregate inventory as a 3C site. A complete copy of the Planning Commission's recommendation is available on the county's website or from the Planning Department. The Board of County Commissioners may elect to uphold, modify, or reverse the Planning Commission's recommendation. This is the first of two hearings the Board will hold. The second hearing will be held on May 20th, 2026. This hearing will be de novo, which means like new, thus normal quasi-judicial land use procedures will apply. For reference, the applicable approval criteria are as follows: Oregon Administrative Rules, Chapter 660, Division 16, Crook County Comprehensive Plan, Ordinance number 55, Comprehensive Plan Mineral and Aggregate Policies, Ordinance number 43, Crook County's Goal 5 Resources, Crook County Code, Chapter 18144, Aggregate Resource Sites. This hearing will be conducted pursuant to Crook County Code 18.168 and 18.172. Ex parte communications and conflict of interest. At this time, I will poll the Board of Commissioners, that's the three of you, regarding conflicts of interest and ex parte communications, including personal knowledge, bias, prejudgment, or personal interest. Does anyone have any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest to disclose?
No.
Hermrick, no.
Barney, no.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience or on the phone wish to challenge the participation of any member of this board regarding conflicts of interest, ex parte communication, or prejudgment on this matter? Staff, please unmute the phone. During the hearing, testimony and arguments and evidence must be directed towards applicable approval standards and criteria or other standards and criteria in the Crook County Land Use Regulations or Comprehensive Plan that the person believes testifying to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with sufficient detail to give the hearing authority and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the hearing authority to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The record is open and will remain open until at the soonest the close of the second hearing. If a party wishes to request that the record remain open or the second hearing be continued, it may make such a request in accordance with Crook County Code 18-172-081. The decision of the Board of County Commissioners may be appealed in accordance with ORS 197 and OAR 661. Prior to the close of the second hearing, I guess we don't need to read that. We have muted the phone lines so everyone will be able to hear clearly. We will now unmute to conduct a roll call to determine who is on the line and ask whether they intend to testify, and if so, whether in favor or in opposition of the application. We will then call on them to testify at the appropriate time. After we have taken roll call, we will mute the phone lines.
Let me clarify. The roll call is for people that want to speak in favor, in opposition, or neutral, not just everybody on the phone. because we got a big stack today.
So the
So
ones that are planning on participating.
okay. And we'll need you to type into the I don't know, chat to be able to, or raise your hand, either one, because we've had issues being hacked in the past. It's not pretty.
There should be a Quinn Burkett. He's their attorney. He should be on there.
Hi, Quinn
Okay.
Burkett here for the applicant.
Anyone else online want to weigh in favor, against, or neutrally? Okay. All right, Quinn, let it rip.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Chat
Trying
might
to turn
be
my
disabled.
camera on, but I know John will get into maybe some of the more of the details here.
Quinn, you're unmuted.
I'm muted.
Is your mic muted?
No. Can you hear me?
I am unmuted on. See, that's what happened to me on that Zoom thing. You said I was unmuted, but I wasn't.
Nothing chat is allowed. It's the only thing. He says I'm unmuted on my end.
I have people listening online. They can hear him. Just we can't hear him in here.
Had this
Really?
recently. What did
Interesting.
Maybe talk really loud.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
That's it. But this is exactly like I say with me on the Zoom the other day.
What would we do without technology?
Probably have an easier life. You go, the people online can hear.
Is it on your computer, Brianna?
Speaking.
But it does not appear to be working.
If we only have one person, could we have them call in?
Yeah, he can. If he's the only one, he can definitely call in on a phone line.
Can I give you my work phone number and you can call my work phone?
That sounds good. He just wrote, or great. There you go. Yeah, here's his number. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out.
Chelsea's trying to watch.
If you'd like, I can continue going through the script while we get the thing figured out. Okay. If you are here in person and plan to testify,
Okay, he's still going to continue on the script. I've just got you here by my mic.
Hi, thank you. I'm probably going to exit out of the Zoom call so we don't get some weird feedback, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Hi, all. Thanks for.
I think. Hold on. I think we're still waiting on John to finish the script, and then your roll call has been noted. Great. Thank you.
If you are here in person and plan to testify, we will call on you shortly. If you have written testimony that you'd like to submit, please hand it to one of our staff members. All persons testifying must be recognized by the board. Please speak clearly and state your name and address for the record. If you are speaking on behalf of someone else or a group, please state who you are representing. The order of testimony will be as follows. We will hear from staff first. We will then hear testimony from any federal, state, or local agencies. Next, the applicant will have an opportunity to testify. Anyone in favor or who is neutral to the application will then be heard, and then we will hear from those in opposition. Finally, the applicant has an opportunity for rebuttal. Does anyone in the audience or on the phone have any questions about the process today? Staff, please unmute them.
Only they better chat.
Doesn't look like it. I would also raise your hand if that's something that's important, just so we can double check. Okay, moving on.
All right. So before we start, this needs to be a public hearing. So before you start that, I would recommend a motion to read by title only.
I'd entertain a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Hermer guy.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Um,
Can you just read off?
Susie, you want to just read it by title on there?
Okay, before the Board of Commissioners of Crook County, Oregon, an ordinance amending the Crook County Comprehensive Plan Goal 5 inventory by including a new 3C aggregate site and adopting a site-specific environmental, social, economic, and energy analysis and program to achieve Goal 5 for the aggregate site and declaring an emergency, ordinance number 358.
Thank you. Now, so that I'll open the public hearing.
Public hearing is open.
All right. Thank you again, John Eisler, Crook County Community Development Director. Brianna, can you pull up that PowerPoint? So, just some real quick background. This is not for a conditional use permit. This is to add the site to our Goal 5 inventory. And so this process would apply to any operator that then would want to come in and get a conditional use permit to mine this particular location. This is, all right, here we go. So the proposal, it's not a huge site. It's part of an existing site. And so the plan here, the ask is to modify an existing site already in the county's inventory to add approximately 4.1 acres. Let's see. The addition would include the ends of the quarry floor to the northwest, southeast, and east. If approved, the applicant has applied for a conditional use permit to allow mining, crushing, and stockpiling. Next slide, please. There's just a quick map. So this site is off O'Neill Highway right there. Canyon. Next slide, please. Closer map, you can see what we're talking about now is down at the bottom where that circle is that's not fully visible. There you go. Next slide. Here's the site plan, and I believe the applicant's attorney is on the phone. He can kind of give you more detail on exactly where. It's up in the edges here, but next slide. So as we do these post acknowledgement plan amendments to add sites to our inventory, we are still using the same procedure that we have since the 90s. And so it's a little bit messy. It's influenced by LUBA case law, but basically we still apply Oregon Administrative Rule Division 16 in combination with a series of ordinances that were passed in the county. And then we also lean on OER Division 23 when there are gaps in the process. But next slide, please. Simplified, this is basically a 4-step process. The first step is this resource significant? The second step is to identify conflicts, any potential conflicts. The third is to analyze the economic, social, environmental, and energy consequences. And then fourth is to develop a program to achieve the goal. Next slide, please. All right, so on the first question, is the resource site significant? We need to list the location, which is in the staff report, and then we analyze the site for quality of material and for quantity. For quality, we go through a ranking system with 1 being the best, 4 being not as good. To be ranked as a 1, it needs to have a specific resistance to abrasion, sodium sulfate soundness, air degradation qualities. For quantity, that's where we lean on Division 23. Since we are east of the mountains, and under Division 23, any site with more than 500,000 tons is considered significant as for quality purposes. And so here on quality, the original site that has gone through this process and was graded was categorized as a quality 1. In July of last year, Carlson Testing went out and took some samples. All of those samples passed ODOT standards for Oregon air degradation and abrasion testing. And so the Planning Commission qualified this the material as a 1. On quantity, next slide, please. Next slide after that, sorry. So here's a little bit better map of what they're looking at, but the quantity through their expert, they said there's a 500,000 ton threshold. Here they have 1.7 million tons of in-place basalt, according to their report. So that's 724,966 cubic yards of rock material and the basalt has a density of, you can read it there, 4,700 to 5,211 pounds per cubic yard of massive basalt. So if you apply the ratio of 2.3 tons per yard, which is conservative, they came up with 1.7 million tons in place. So the Planning Commission, as they went through this test, is significant. They had the information that they were looking for on location, quality, and quantity to put it on the comprehensive plan inventory. But when there are conflicts, you need to keep going. And so the applicant and Planning Commission both identified conflicts that either exist or could potentially be there. And this is part of step 2. Next, go a couple slides. I'm moving pretty fast right now, sorry. Keep going. There we go. So conflicts are existing or potential land uses that could conflict with the site, not those which the site conflicts with, unless those conflicts could come back to impact the site, such as neighbor complaints forcing a change in the operator's operations. And so in this area, uses that are permitted outright, farm dwellings and everything else in EFU, conditional uses they include public or private schools, churches, commercial activities in conjunction with farm use, secondary farm dwellings, private and public parks, campgrounds, hunting preserves, home occupations, boarding horses for profit, non-farm dwellings, and personal use airports. Next slide, please. And so the applicant stated, and there were no dwellings identified near the expansion area. The closest structure is 3,000 feet away, and mining has been going on at the site for quite a while, many years. The rest of the operation was determined to be a 3C site that balanced conflicts with a 500-foot impact area and restrictions on the establishment of potential conflicting uses. And then so as we went through what's termed the EC analysis, which is economic, social, environmental, and energy consequences, where there are existing or potential conflicts, the county has conduct this analysis to determine, as I said, the economic, social, environmental, and energy consequences in an even-handed two-way analysis. Thank you. And so as the Planning Commission looked at things, on the economic side, there are benefits on the economic benefits include having a local aggregate resource for economic development. The burdens, there was no evidence of negative impacts here to agriculture, but it could have negative impacts should conflicting uses exist in the nearby vicinity. On the social side, the benefits included an improved quality of life through employment, tax revenue, etc. And the burden is a reduction in the rural quality of life from dust, blasting, and traffic. Next slide. Sorry, one slide up. The other direction. There we go. Thank you. On the environmental side, the benefits include reducing truck trips from outside the region to bring aggregate into Crook County. The burden on the environmental side are potential impacts to wildlife. There is a golden eagle nesting site there that will be mitigated for, and there are potential burdens to surface and groundwater. There's no evidence that it will impact groundwater, and the specifics of how to ensure that groundwater and surface water is protected will be addressed in the conditional use permit process by any particular operator. There's an engineer's report that comes with the conditional use permit application that will be applied then. On the energy side, the benefit will save on fuel from aggregate extracted elsewhere and trucked in. The burden is that it will expend fuel locally in the form of running heavy equipment and processing material. We went through all the statewide planning goals and their impact on those in the Planning Commission report, which I encourage you to see. Next slide. So this is the final step. This is developing a program to achieve the goal. We have basically 3 options. There's 3A, which is protecting the resource site by prohibiting all conflicting uses. 3B is when the conflicting uses are so important that they should be allowed fully, notwithstanding any impact to the resource site. And then 3C is the balancing act, where you take a look at both the benefits and the burdens and try to create a plan that accommodates all parties to the best of our ability. Next slide. And so in the program to achieve the goal, we have staff and the Planning Commission addressed areas that include site plan, water rights, wildlife, fire protection, quality of life issues like setbacks, traffic and access, dust mitigation, noise, operating hours, reclamation, and water, land uses within the mining area and within the impact area to allow conditional uses with a waiver of remonstrance. And so next slide. So that's it for staff's initial presentation. Are there any questions?
I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but during the planning commission, were there any neighbors or people that were negative towards the?
That's certainly an appropriate question. There was, Julie, I think you were the only member of the public that testified. Is that right? Yeah. Her concern was about, I think there was a statement in the original staff report that the aggregate resource would be sold in Crook County. That's not always the case, and so that language was softened a bit to make it clear that it can be shipped anywhere and is often shipped to Deschutes County.
Okay.
Or trucked.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, Susan.
No, I read the staff report and I thought it was very good.
Yep.
All right, so now we'll open the public hearing.
I think you did that already, but now you would then move on to see if there's any state or federal agencies here to testify.
That's right. I think he left online.
He did.
Oh, no, he's down there in the bottom corner. Quinn, can we try and use you through the?
I just want to see if it's working.
He'd be coming up next. So we can just, there's no federal stuff.
I'm going to mute you on my phone, and then can you, we'll unmute you and see if we fixed our problem on our end.
Sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you on my phone, but not on the screen.
Okay. No luck?
Why don't we give it a shot? Okay, you're back on my phone.
Seth, before you do, we need to ask.
We're not quite ready for you. We were just doing a little test. So
Sounds
first
good.
off, is there any state, federal, or local agencies that want to weigh in on this? I don't see anybody in the room. Anybody online? I'm not seeing any. Okay, and so then we start with in favor, then neutral, then opposed.
So the applicant would go next.
Okay, your time to shine, buddy.
All right, here we go. Well, first, want to thank staff for the report and their work on this. Just a couple of things to add to John's presentation. I think it's important to stress that the proposed areas of expansion on this, you probably saw in that map that John shared, it looks a little odd. But the proposed areas of expansion are actually pre-disturbed. So they were disturbed prior to the current owners taking ownership. And so the main goal here is to try and bring the site into compliance with both county code and state regulation. And so, we've been working closely with the county to make sure that happens, as well as state agencies like Dogami. And so from the state's perspective, what they've represented to me is that in order to get a new operating permit, we need to bring these pre-disturbed areas into compliance. So that's the main goal here. John had indicated that the site has been mined for a while. That's true. It was the prior operations were conducted under a 1995 operating permit. And then again, I think it's also important to stress that these are pre-disturbed areas. So no new mining is going to be taking place in the northwest and southeast portions of that expansion. Furthermore, just to address some of the quality of life concerns, I do think it's important to note that the site is pretty self-contained. It's in a canyon-like area, so and pretty far away from O'Neill Highway as well. So any issues with dust or noise, impacting neighbors are likely to be mitigated just by the site location itself. With regards to the golden eagle nesting, I've spoken with and gotten assurances from U.S. Fish and Wildlife that not likely to be any issues, but we're going to make sure we work closely with them to mitigate any potential impacts to golden eagle nesting season. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else in favor?
In favor or neutral?
Or neutral? Anybody opposed? Okay, last chance. You got anybody in the chat? Okay, well now
So the next step would be to applicant's rebuttal, but I don't know. You could ask him if he said everything.
do you want to rebut anything you've said?
No, just appreciate your time. And yeah, if any other questions pop up, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. We will close the public hearing.
And so a reminder, we will do this again within the ordinance. We need to have 2 public hearings, and so the record will remain open. If anybody has any comments or testimony to present, feel free to do so before the next hearing. If there's nothing else, I would recommend a motion to close this portion of the public hearing to reconvene for the second public hearing on May 20th, 2026 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Okay. You're welcome to stay on to hear about Lawrence Welk. Or you're free to go as well.
I appreciate the opportunity. I better get back to work, but I hope you all have a good day.
Fair.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, manager's report.
Couple quick items for the board this morning. I just wanted to note, initially the agenda had a public records request policy item on it. We just received kind of some updates to that policy yesterday. I wanted to make sure both the board and the public had an opportunity to review that before we bring it back for board consideration. So I did include it under my manager's report for anybody who's interested and wants to take a look at that in advance, but it'll also be included in a future packet. We'll have a meeting for further discussion and consideration.
So probably the work session, and then if we figure out a plan, then we would then put it on a regular meeting.
Yeah, and happy to bring it to next week's work session if the board would like to discuss it at that point. And then lastly, just want to note we've got it's budget season, so the county's budget committee meeting will be May 11th, next Monday, at the Justice Center. The Ag Extension Service District is also having a budget committee meeting on May 11th at 6 p.m. at COCC. And then on May 18th, the road agency will have its budget meeting here in the annex. So it's that time of year, lots of budget meetings. If you're interested in any of those, just want to make sure the public's aware that those are coming up.
Perfect. Susie?
Okay. During the years, well, first of all, I get a lot of emails, and as the district attorney has told me, I should ignore some more of them, but I didn't ignore this email. This is a gentleman who wanted an acknowledgement of the Lawrence Welk show that ran from 1957 to 1982. And when I was a young bride, if you went on Saturday night to the Hermrick household, during that hour that Lawrence Welk was on, if you spoke or did anything, you were in big trouble. So from that, what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Commissioner Barney, because I think he has something he'd like to say.
So we all got that email, and thanks to Commissioner Hermrick, she followed up on it because I don't know as I would have, but it's an interesting. She, as a young bride, when I was long before I was even thinking about being a groom, just a young whippersnapper. It used to be a tradition in our house also to watch the Lawrence Welk show. And our television was an old black and white that had 4 legs and a round screen. And, but it was something that we always did, and always got a kick out of the guy because he'd always stand up and he'd go a 1 and a 2. And, and the band would play. And so that was my.
Are we not going to get the music, Chelsea? This is
Chelsea. This is way worse than
Yeah.
hearing.
Can they hear him?
Probably.
Well, darn, this was the whole point.
Yeah, we were doing a show here.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
All right, now one more time, Brian.
Oh, we lost it again?
All right.
Oh, we missed the part.
Oh, well, anyway, there it is.
Are you guys going to start poking? Oh. Yeah.
I do want you to know, as a PE requirement in college, they had a portion called ballroom dancing. And since I was desperate to do my PE credits, I took it and I did get an A, the highest. So just in case I can do the polka and the foxtrot, I'd have to remember, but it was in there at one time. Okay.
There we go.
But with a cowboy hat? Okay. All righty. So I make a motion that we go ahead and send my battery's running low, a letter in support for the 70th anniversary of the Lawrence Welk Show. What this man is trying to do is he has identified areas where people that were affiliated with Lawrence Welk, that they lived. And so there were two counties. There were two people from Oregon. One lived in Ontario. I can't think of where the second one lived. And so we, in joining this support, because he's going to go to the House and to the Senate and try to get an acknowledgement of the Lawrence Welk Show, we want to I make a motion to send a letter of support for this endeavor.
I'll second the motion. It was a nice letter. Very
Yes.
well done.
And it was a 1 and a 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion?
No, we've discussed everything we can.
All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Okay. My second thing is there is on the federal level, there is a Bridges and Safety Infrastructure for Community Success, which is called BASICS. It's a bipartisan bill, which makes significant improvements to federal transportation programs to help more counties access formula funding for transportation projects. In Crook County, we own 472 miles of public road, 111 bridges, and 1,676 culverts. Approximately 230 miles of the roads are paved and 242 miles are gravel. So if we could get additional funding, you can all see the benefits that our county would be reaping. So this is a letter to Cliff Bentz, Senator Merkley, and Senator Wyden, encouraging them to go ahead and pass the BASICS Act, which is HR 7437. So I would like the commissioner's support and the signing of this letter to be sent.
Entertain a motion?
I make a motion for us to go ahead and send to the appropriate representatives, the Crook County Board of Commissioners, support of Bridges and Safety Infrastructure for Community Success.
A second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Yeah, I don't have anything for today. Okay.
Okay. That's because Lawrence Welk was just so
I'm just
amazing
overwhelmed.
that you can't even think of another thing. I know that. Okay.
Did you have one last comment before we wrap up? And anybody else, obviously, public. Yeah.
If you can,
Let's see
push
it.
those chairs apart.
I'm going to leave though.
Okay.
Adam Mikulski, 3992 Northwest Ahanthic. Just a couple questions or two questions on, there's going to be a timeline for this hearings officer, and then what kind of notices will we receive and actually give us more time than 14 days to know when something's coming up? And the second question would be, is there going to be guidance on what we can present and what we can't, or we should and we shouldn't? So we don't waste a lot of time and bring up stuff that's not even going to matter.
So the hearings officer will be the one that will set the schedule. And so now that this order is in place, I'm going to contact him and he's going to let me know, dates of availability, and we're going to set a schedule, and then that will be provided in the notice you guys receive. I tried to give what guidance I could in the staff report to the Planning Commission regarding items that probably aren't going to get a lot of traction, especially with the case law for the one where there were mistruths, I guess, in the original application. And Luba said that basically you don't get into second bite at that. So I tried to limit the scope there. Otherwise, you just need to look at the code language and what factors would make a party eligible to have their conditional use permit modified or revoked, and then bring what facts you think apply to that criteria.
Okay, and then the list of people that are on there, is that something like, I know we're going to get it, maybe a few people here, but there may be more people involved. Is there a, like they do on a hearing where you're 500 feet within the property boundary, or how?
Yep, it'll be that, and then everybody that came to the planning commission hearing and testified
In
there.
the past.
So yeah, just to clarify, so anybody that's testified in the past and given information and given their contact information will be contacted.
At the planning commission hearing, we're not going to go back years and years of anybody who came to a board of commissioners hearing.
Got it.
Everybody was the planning commission hearing, and
Are
they
able to spread that information around their community as they see fit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just point of clarification, when you talk about planning commission meeting, are you talking about a recent planning commission meeting or back in 2015? Like you're talking about the recent
the one from March.
That'll be a small list.
But again,
Get it out there.
spread the word.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll get you a jacket.
We got plenty.
Okay. Anybody else from the public before we head on? Anybody on the phone or on the
I think
Zoom?
we have to be on chat.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much today.
Okay, thank you.
Special thank you for Brian for his presentation. The Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session under RS 1926602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions, and ORS 1926602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media and designated are specifically directed not to report any deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we'll return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. The Board of County Commissioners will now leave executive session under ORS 1926602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions, and ORS 1926602F to consider formation or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives and news media and designated staff are allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are left to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on deliberations during the executive session except to state the general such as previously announced. No decision was made in executive session. We will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Eric, would you please lay out some potential motions?
So for the topic under 2F, Foxtrot, I think there's no motion. We will gather more information and bring it back at a future meeting. For the matter under 2E, Echo,